you doing, Josh?
All right, how you doing today, Jim?
Awesome. You ready for another awesome episode of You Don't Know Squatch?
I am. Are you guys ready for another episode of You Don't Know Squatch, those listening out there? Man, it's been crazy.
It has been crazy for both of us. We've been crazy busy.
We got a lot of great news. You know,
Yes.
we finally, for the Backwoods movie, we casted our cast.
We got our cast.
We got some great players.
Got some awesome people. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're all unknowns.
Yeah.
So it's introducing everyone in the movie. So there's no stars in this movie.
Nobody has an IMDb page.
No.
I think.
No.
Well, I do.
But you do. But we, our location is going to be awesome. We got
We can announce
permission
it now.
to do it in Staunton State Park.
Man, I love that park.
It's awesome.
I know I say this every time we bring it up, but that's where they wrote the play Harvey.
Is
with
it
Jimmy
really?
Stewart.
Huh.
There's a Puka Trail or something like that. I forgot what they called the rabbit, but yeah, she wrote it in that
Hey,
cabin.
just think, Josh. In the future, they'll say, and Staunton State Park is where they filmed the movie Backwoods. People will go, really? Oh, that's awesome.
And so it's going to be Backwoods and Man versus Wild.
There you go. That's right.
But yeah, man, like the cabin, great. I mean, just everything's
going to
awesome.
be perfect. This is going to be a lot of fun.
So I know they're probably not listening, but I just want to throw it out there. Thank you very much, people from Staunton State Park.
Yes.
We really appreciate you
Yes.
letting us do that.
We appreciate the special considerations you gave us on permits and everything. So they've been over backwards to make this work, and we really appreciate it.
And we'll promise to make them look cool.
Yeah, we will. We'll make them look good.
All right. So what are we talking today that's Sasquatch?
Well, there are a couple things. I thought we've had a lot of interviews lately, so I thought we would talk about two things. I wanted to talk about some outings I've taken people on, night outings recently, just to explain kind of how that works and what happens, and then talk about, or maybe before that, talk about tree structures, because when we go out, and the main thing I'm looking for, the easiest thing to show people are tree structures. Now, people always think they're going to see a Bigfoot, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. And especially with a large group of people, and both groups I've taken out were fairly good size. So recently, yeah, we're not going to see a Bigfoot. It would be fantastic, but it's going to be very rare. Not that they're not out there watching when we're out there.
Yeah,
they're just not going to show themselves. And so, but tree structures is something it's going to be featured in the movie. That's one of the things we're going to talk about in the movie and demonstrate. And basically, I don't know of a researcher out there who doesn't think that Sasquatch manipulates their environment. And trees are the easiest thing to manipulate because that's what's out there. But what they do is phenomenally shows phenomenal power, physical power to accomplish what they do. So
okay, can you describe it a little bit visually? So if somebody came across it, what would they see?
So there's several things that people walk past every day when they're out hiking. They never know what they're looking at.
This goes back to the Harry and the Hendersons opening.
So trees that are broken and twisted at some point in the height of the tree, usually 6, 7, 8, I've seen them 10, 12 feet up, where the top of the tree is bent down, twisted and broken, and then it's left hanging. That's kind of the signature thing that we look for, is that it's not broken off, it's just twisted and left hanging. Now, there's a lot of theories about the direction of the breaks, and is it a marker? Is it showing? I'm not sure about that. I've had other researchers tell me, absolutely, this all has to do with they're marking a trail or something. I'm not so sure about that. But
and this practice actually does have a history in Native American society.
What, the breaking of trees?
The actual shaping of trees to leave markers.
No, they would shape them as a young tree. The Native Americans would shape them so that the grown tree would have a shape in the trunk.
Almost like American bonsai.
Yeah, like that, but full-grown trees.
Okay.
The difference is Sasquatch doesn't shape trees; they just break them, they twist them. But just the ability to do that. I mean, even breaking a tree. They love aspens because they're flexible, but try it sometime. I've taken people out there, and I'm like, okay, take a little aspen, 1.5 inches in diameter, and break it the way these other trees are broken, that are, 4 inches in diameter. You just can't do it. I mean, it just takes too much. You have to put your hand against the tree and pull from above and push against the tree from below. And it's very hard to do, let alone the size trees that they're doing and the height that they're doing it at. But there's nothing else in nature that I have seen that does that makes trees. Deer and elk will rub, but they don't break them. They don't break them in half, and certainly they don't twist them.
And there's no kind of like fungus that might do it.
No. This is physically manipulated. Whatever caused these trees, because these are trees that are broken when all the trees around them are still whole and standing up. And it's so in a storm, the big trees are the ones that take the brunt of the wind. The little trees inside those big trees are sheltered. Yeah. But it's the littler trees that you find bent and broken. Okay. And we have good examples of this in the museum if people come in. So bending, breaking, twisting, and the other thing is making arches. So they'll bend the tree over into an arch, and then they'll either jam it into the ground to hold it in that arch, or stick it under another tree that will hold it down. And I've seen these in anywhere. There's a classic example I've taken some people to recently where an aspen tree is bent across the trail. The tree's about, I want to say, at the base, maybe 8-9 inches in diameter, bent across the trail, and it's bent in such a way that as by the force of the bending, the tree, there was a stress fracture on the trunk where the trunk just split on the opposite side of the bend. Okay. Because it's too much stress on the tree as it's bending. Well, that doesn't happen in a slow bend over time going down. That shows me this thing was bent, and it was bent fast, and it was bent hard, and the trunk snapped on the back. And that's right over the trail, one of the trails that we use when we go out. People walk under it all the time. They probably never stop to think, why is this tree bent over the trail?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that if it was, if it was a disease for the tree or something like that, aspens share a root, and they're actually clones of each other's. So when you're in
they're one organism.
Yeah, when you're in an aspen grove, it's kind of cool. You look at them, and they got the same split in the same area,
and their roots are all connected under the ground.
So it spread to me.
Yeah, if it was diseased.
Very interesting.
Well, people also say, well, snow load caused that to bend over. Well, that's a good theory, but aspens have no leaves in the winter. They're bare branches. They don't carry any snow.
Okay, see, I don't. Coming from a skeptic, I don't buy that either. I mean, you just live here in a while, that aspens don't bear snow loads.
But I'll go out in places and I'll find 5, 10 of these trees arched and stuck down and stuck under stuff in an area like within 50 yards of each other. And I'm looking around. This is off the trail. This is back 100, 200 yards off the trail. Hard to get to because it's really thick back in there, and there's all these arches. And I'm like, okay, this is really compelling because nobody comes back in here as hikers. There's no reason to go back in there. The trail is clear. Why not just stay on the trail? So things like that. Then tree sculptures, which are trees that are bent, trees that are put together in a fashion where they're intertwined, woven together in a way that's obviously not natural. It didn't happen that way. So sometimes you'll find trees that are horizontal, but they're woven in and out of 2 or 3 other trees. And you're thinking, that tree never fell that way. Yeah. It can't have fallen and be woven in between other trees. And so things like that, things that are unusual, out of place, doesn't make any sense.
And again, aspens are pretty straight. You know,
They're
like
pretty
they're
straight.
not.
Yeah.
It's not like mesquite in Texas where it grows like that. You know,
Right.
mesquite slithers along the ground and does all sorts of
Sure.
twisty stuff. But
Aspen's pretty straight up and down, flexible. I mean, they're a flexible tree, and lots of game chew the bark and stuff because it's got medicinal value. But nothing pulls them down into an arch and holds. I mean, animals wouldn't do that. There's no reason to do that.
You're not telling people to come up here and eat trees, are you?
Come here and chew this bark.
You got cancer? Eat this tree.
Eat this tree. You'll feel a lot better. So that's when we talk about tree structures. That's what we're talking about. And there's areas of the forest out here where they're everywhere. And it's amazing how ignorant most of us are. We walk right by it, don't even recognize what we're looking at.
Oh, yeah.
But if you stop to look at it, you'd say, okay, that's really weird. Who made that? Or teepee structures, trees leaned up against another tree. I found one recently off the Mount Rosalie Trail, and it was up high next to the trail. And I thought, people could have done that, but why? And it's not anything that you could have used for a shelter. They were just a bunch of stuff piled up against another tree, and none of it cut with a saw or anything. It was all broken branches. But yeah.
Well, I've seen deadfall structures like that. I know, like
Sure.
both at the disc golf course, they build that kind of like what you're describing there, like a teepee made out of wood.
And I will always try to find any natural explanation I can that explains this structure before I come to a conclusion that it's something else. Because there's stuff that you look at from a distance and you think, oh, that had to be made. But when you get over to it, you can see that it was just wind and they just fell in that order and it made it look unusual. That's not what I'm talking about. Those I think are pretty obvious when you get up to them. I'm talking once you get up and you start looking at this, you're like, hey, there ain't no way. There's no way this happened naturally. And so, that it's everywhere. It's really everywhere.
Earlier you were saying that, that people have their theories, that they're markers and all that. What's your theory on this?
I really don't have one. I don't know. I feel pretty confident that all these structures are not intended for us. They're intended for them. So it's communication between Sasquatch groups or Sasquatch family groups. It's not for us. I think they probably realize that we don't have a clue what they're trying to communicate with all these structures.Maybe it's territorial. Maybe it's designating, I could imagine these big tree breaks being a dominance thing where I'm the biggest, baddest Sasquatch around, so stay out of my area or something like that. And I really don't know how well they interact as family groups, one group to another. If there's conflicts or if they're at harmony, they move in and out of each other's areas. I don't know. But
everything fights. I mean, they have
well,
to.
You think so?
Everything wages war.
You think so? I've heard of bears fighting Sasquatch. I haven't yet heard of two Sasquatch. No, I have. I take that back. Sasquatch fighting each other. But that kind of sighting would be 1 in a billion chance.
Yeah.
And so, but
it's like that leopard versus alligator footage,
Right. Yeah. You think
only once is
only
that gonna
once
be captured.
did anybody capture that. So I don't really have a theory. I just don't think it's intended for us. So I think we have to put ourselves in their skin and try to think, why would they do this? What would the goal be?
It sounds like the way you're describing it, like you even call them, like it's even noted as like a tree sculpture.
Sure.
It sounds like art,
Well, maybe they just get bored, so they're just making stuff. And what do they have to use? They've got trees. So some of it seems to be done in anger, where they'll pull a tree, uproot a tree. We've seen this, uproot a tree, and then turn it upside down, 35-foot long green Douglas fir tree, and ram it up into a bunch of other trees so that it stayed. I mean, it had to be rammed really hard up in there. People couldn't have done it. I mean, and it's suspended above the ground, but it's rammed up through like 5 different tree branches to get it to stay up there.
And it couldn't be deadfall?
No, this was definitely forced up in there because the roots are up in the air.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
since the heaviest part is the top, wouldn't it fall and?
Well, if it fell, it would just fall and the roots would be down. The roots were probably up about 15 feet in the air.
Yeah, it's like upside down, basically.
Upside down, but nothing would. It would have to uproot and jump up in the air 15 feet, and so stuff does fall into other trees, but this was upside down and stuck up in the other trees hard. I mean, it had to be rammed up in there to stay, and it was still green. The pine needles were still green when it was found, so it wasn't dead. It didn't fall. It didn't get that way. There's no other way it could have happened. Either a bunch of people figured out they could do it, but again, why would you do that? It's so much work to do that.
It's like crop circles. Why would you do that?
Why would you go to the effort of doing that?
Especially now it makes more sense. We have got drones.
Right.
The crop circles back in the day, dumb.
No.
What's the point? Nobody's going to see it.
Who's going to see it? Nobody can see it from above back in the old days. So because we can get above it now with drones, we can see that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's just, don't know what the goal of that kind of thing is, the crop circles, and that's a whole nother topic. Yeah. But the point is, people wouldn't do it. There'd be no point in doing it.
Well, people stack rocks.
People stack rocks, and people have made crop circles.
Yeah.
But they don't make these intricate designs you see in the crop fields. I mean, it's phenomenal. So we how are we doing on time here?
Well, yeah, we're doing all right.
Good. So periodically, I have people ask if I'll take them out at day or night, and
right off the bat, I just want to know, just so everybody does, how do you sign up for that? How does one?
Well, right now it's generally people that come in the store or they write into our website.
Okay.
And ask. Now, I don't do it nearly as often as I used to because we've just gotten so busy in the store. I used to have sign up on the website. You would sign up. I would charge something just because we're going to take half a day or go out at night. But I don't do it nearly as often, but I did do a couple of them of late. And one was a family that had last Christmas, as a Christmas present, had organized this. One gal organized it it was going to be her and a guy friend. Well, all these other family members heard about it, and eventually there were 7 of them that came out. And we went out about, this was just a couple weeks ago, we went out about, 6:37 at night or in the evening. And as soon as we got to where we parked, it started pouring. And so it rained for like an hour and a half, hard. So a couple of them didn't really have ponchos. And I told them, bring rain ponchos. That was one of the non-negotiables. Well, they didn't. And they were wearing jeans. And, you get jeans soaking wet and they just take forever to dry. So, but they were troopers. I'll give them this. I've had people come out and I had to cut the outing short because they were complaining so much about, this is too hard, or I can't do this, or I can't take the altitude. And these folks were from, I can't remember where they were from off the top of my head, but they were not from the mountains.
Just
they
flatlanders.
They were flatlanders. And they did great. They stayed with us and stayed with me. And so the rain finally stopped. Everybody kind of started to dry out. And I showed them some tree structures and stuff. We didn't have anything happen. And let me just say what I have had happen. And that's why I tell people, any of these things may happen when we're out, but I can't guarantee any of them. People accuse me sometimes of sending somebody out in the woods to wait and do tree knocks and noises. And I'm like, yeah, that would be possible if I had any friends who would do that for me. I don't have any friends that would do that for me. Go out in the woods for a couple hours by yourself in the middle of the night. I wouldn't do that for somebody else.
Who are you, Bear Grylls?
Yeah. No way. So my friends would say, yeah, find somebody else, dude. I'm not going out in the woods for you. So Nobody knows where we're going. They never know what time we're going. There's other people in Bailey, I've heard, are claiming that they find out when I'm going out and they go out ahead of time. And they haven't told me this, but they told other people this.
Oh, just to like mess with.
They go out there and they knock and they hoop, and I'm like,
but how? Your schedule's not public.
I don't publicize it, so I call BS on that because they don't know where I'm going. They don't know when I'm going. They don't know who I'm going with. So they were trying to impress somebody, and somebody was spying on them and came and told me later. But no, nobody goes out in the woods, and I wouldn't ask anybody to do that.
No, I can attest to that because I remember when we first met, I was talking about a project to kind of help you promote, and it was more of a funny, like a little humorous type, and we were talking about a suit, and you're like, no, that's no go.
No go.
No go.
No go, because I don't want to get somebody shot or they get out there and get hurt.
Okay, see, that's a thought that I didn't have until you said that right now. Like...
this is rural Colorado. Everybody carries guns. Somebody's going to shoot that person if they're out there in a suit. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to send somebody out in a suit.
I believe that.
Hey, who put this guy out here in a Bigfoot suit? He just got killed. I'm like, I don't know who did that. This
is the area where they wanted to pass a law to shoot down drones.
Exactly. So things that have happened when I've taken people out, we've had them throw stuff at us, rocks, tree branches, stuff like that. Hard. Throw hard so it hits the tree behind us. Whack. If it hit us, it would have done serious damage. It would have taken somebody out.
Well, that's not good for business.
It's not, but they don't hit us. They throw it near us, and we've had them throw stuff at us. We've had them howl, growl, bark like a dog. 1:12 midnight, 1 in the morning, bark like a dog. There's no dogs out there. Whistle back a tune that I've just whistled. The exact same tune comes back at us out of the woods.
So mimicking,
That's
absolutely
the first time
mimicking. I've heard that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tree knocks, lots of tree knocks. Thumping on the ground in tune with, if somebody's singing a song or something, they suddenly realize that there's this thumping going on in the same rhythm of their song. Just all that kind of stuff. Anything could happen, or we could see something, and we had that.
That'd be a blast with We Will Rock You. I wonder if Sasquatch knows who Queen is.
Yeah. If Sasquatch liked music, he would listen to Queen. I'm a big Queen fan. But so I tell them this could happen, but I can't guarantee that it will. So, and we've had tons of weird things happen. A funny story that happened several years ago. I took a group out of 5 people. It was during the afternoon, and we stayed out till night. And we were off the Colorado Trail, so we hiked up the trail, went off the trail quite a ways. We're kind of down below the trail in a ravine looking for stuff. We passed this kind of abandoned hunting camp down in there, but I didn't go close. I didn't know if anybody's in there, and I didn't particularly want to disturb some hermit or somebody down. So we went past that, and we came back to the trail, near the trail, and there's a bunch of kids and probably a couple of chaperones hiking up the trail, making tons of racket, and they're talking about Bigfoot. We could hear them. So we knew they were there, but they didn't know we were there. Now, this was the only time I've ever done this. I've not done it since because to me it's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. But I said to my group, let's mess with these kids. So I take my tree knocker and I go whack, whack. And the kids are, Bigfoot, Bigfoot. We can hear them all. And they still couldn't see us. And so we're kind of laughing to ourselves. All of a sudden, behind us, in the direction we had just come from, we hear something go, whoop. And I look at the others and I said, did one of you just do that? They're like, no. I said, you heard it, right? And they said, yeah. I said, okay, that's weird. Here we are messing with these kids, and we hear something.
That's cosmic karma.
It was cosmic karma. So we climbed back over the hill where we had just come from. And we had just been back in there. We knew there was nobody back there. So we climbed back over the hill. We sit down. As soon as we sit down, we hear rocks being clacked together, like clack, 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 down in this ravine, this deep ravine. And I'm like, okay, that's really weird. And then we hear another whoop down in there. And so I'm thinking, okay, we're messing with kids. Somebody's messing with us the same way. So we sit there for a little while, and then I said to my group, okay, we have got to go back down in there. I've got to rule out in my mind that somebody's down in here. So we went back in there again, hiked through there, never saw anybody. There was nobody back there. So I thought, that's very ironic. And that's why I don't mess with people anymore. I don't knock to try and fool people.
Because you learned your lesson?
I learned my lesson, and I don't want people doing it to me and causing my groups to think. I mean, it could always happen. I could be out, I could knock, and generally I don't initiate the knocking. I try not to. I wait, and if we hear a knock, I'll reply. But if I start knocking a lot, then somebody else out in the woods, some person's going to grab a branch and knock. And that's always a possibility. So I'm trying to be sincere and genuine, and I tell people, whatever happens tonight happens. Nothing is set up. There's nobody out there waiting for us to come out. What happens, happens. And so I went out to Staunton, and the volunteers, the Friends of Staunton, wanted to go out. This is just last weekend. And they have their own part of they have like 112 volunteers at Staunton. So
wow, I didn't know that.
There's about 20, 25 of them. They call themselves the Sasquatch. What do they call themselves? The Sasquatch, Staunton Sasquatch Patrol or something like that.
Okay, yeah. When we went to go scout, the guy who took us was, this little
Ted, yeah.
He put the sticker on my car.
He did. Yeah, he loves buying stickers at my store. So I said, okay, if you guys want to go out. Well, we get out to our prearranged meeting point in the park, and 30 people show up who want to go on this night hike. So, and I thought, 30 people is a lot of people. And I told them ahead of time, we're not going to go on a trail. We're just going to bushwhack it. We're going to go in an area that none of us have ever been before in the park and see what happens, see what we see. So we went in an area, and we were climbing over and under stuff and through bushes. 30 people. So I'm looking behind me. There's, a long line of lights. And I'll give them credit. Now these are volunteers at the park, so they hike a lot.
Yeah.
They're used to hiking, so that wasn't an issue for them. But they were quiet. I couldn't believe it. I could hear some conversation going on, but I told them ahead of time, if you're quiet, you may hear something. So found some really interesting tree structures back in this area where, again, there's no trail. Nobody goes back in there.
Yeah.
Stuff that I couldn't explain. And we finally got to an area that was so dense we couldn't go any further. We stopped and hiked back up to the road, one of the roads that goes through the park. But as we're hiking, we hear stuff off to the side, and I could hear voices and stuff. Then we see some flashlights. So some other group was out that night, maybe campers, because they have camping in the park now. I think some campers went out for a night hike. They're probably looking across where we were and thinking, what are all those lights back in the woods? So we were both doing the same thing, looking at each other, wondering what was going on. But we did, when we were out, the first group I was talking about, when we were out, the seven family members, we did see some strange lights that we couldn't explain. Back in the woods, it didn't look like a fire light, but there was light coming from back in the woods.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, how could I describe it? It looked like moonlight, but the moon wasn't up all the way yet.
Okay.
But it was back in the woods. And I didn't even notice it. One of the gals said, there's light back in the woods there. And I'm telling you, when you're out at night, way back in the woods, there's some weird stuff going on. And you can't explain all of it.
Yeah.
And we stood there and we looked and tried to figure out where the light was coming from. I never did figure it out. But it's like when we've talked about this, when camping and there was a light shining down on top of my tent. That kind of stuff, you can't explain it. I can't tell you where the light was coming from, but if it had been a campfire, maybe it was a lantern or something, but it looked like too much light. It was all back in the woods, was all lit, with the same kind of bluish light. A campfire flickers. You can tell a campfire.
And it's warm light.
It's warm light. This was cool light. So I still don't know what it was, but I never know what to expect when we go out. That's the fun part is who knows? Who knows what we're gonna find. So it's a lot of fun. So far, nobody's ever been hurt. We've never had any.
Well, that's good.
We've never had anybody disappear, get abducted by a Sasquatch or anything like that. So, but it's a lot of fun. And if anyone's interested, they can always reach out to us on our website. It may be a while before I can organize another outing, but it doesn't hurt to write and say you're interested.
And what's your perfect size group for that?
Oh, probably 5 max.
5 people.
Small groups. Yeah, small groups.
So get 5 people together, and see what you can do with you.
There you go. There you go.
That's really, at one time, if we can, that would be awesome to go out
Sure.
and just film you guys.
Sure.
It just, it's part of the area's heritage, I feel like, at this point.
Who knows what's going to happen when we're out there filming the movie anyway, because we're going to be in the woods.
And we're going to be out there in the backwoods.
We will be. We will be. So we may just have some stuff happen that we didn't film and we didn't plan on. So.
And then, what we're going to make is going to be super modern.
There you
what
go.
we're talking about.
There you go.
We're going to have the only real good broadcast quality of
That's right.
Sasquatch.
That's right.
Because I can hold my camera steady.
Awesome.
Oh, that's so awesome, man. And coming to the end of the show, just a couple notes, I would say. We'll have, give us a picture that we can put up on the podcast page of tree structures so people can...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool, so
we can
check
put
that
some
out
of that
there.
stuff up. Yep.
Also, we have a lot of questions we're going to get to in an upcoming episode. Thank you for sending those out. We really appreciate it.
We will try and answer them.
And, thank you for sending them out. Really...
Yes, we appreciate it.
And everybody out there, you guys been so nice and so supportive of everything we do. Tell your friends they can catch us on iTunes, Stitcher.
YouTube.
YouTube is doing really good, actually.
We're up to 1,000 followers now, aren't we?
Collectively across
Of
all the
those
platforms, we're a
platforms?
little bit above
Woo-hoo!
that. Yeah, so thank you, all you people, for listening. It's really good to hear 2 people that don't see eye to eye on something actually discuss something in a civil manner.
Absolutely. We fight outside of broadcast time.
And that's why we're doing this over the radio. You can't see all the black eyes and stuff.
That's right.
So yeah, guys, keep listening. Tell your friends about us.
You bet.
Subscribe, share, and until next time.
You don't know.